Let's start on a hopeful note in a great way. As of now, Tiffany Cabán has an over 1% lead over the machine candidate Melinda Katz, who was endorsed by hack and blowhard Joe Crowley, who of course lost his seat to AOC and fuses together Wall Street machine politics. So if it stays over 1%, there will not be a recount, and Tiffany Cabán will win this race. This is hugely significant. Obviously, first and foremost for the people of Queens, where all of a sudden you'll have a public defender, someone who actually cares about justice and humanity in a prosecutorial position. Look at some of the really significant things Krasner's done. Remember the photos of the cleaning shop in Philadelphia? I'm stoked to see those same feeds coming out of Queens. But also nationally. I mean, when people like Bernie Sanders put together serious packages on criminal justice reform, they're going to need DAs to cooperate and implement this stuff across the country. DAs races are absolutely some of the most important parts of electoral politics, and Tiffany Cabán immediately becomes a vital national leader here. Here she is, at her victory last night in Queens.
And we can't have people sitting on Rikers simply because they cannot afford their bail. While the wealthy continue to be able to buy their constitutional right to the presumption of innocence. We cannot continue to criminalize mental health issues, use disorder. These are public health issues, and we must invest in treatment and support and not cages. Unlawfully evict tenants. And employers who steal wages destabilize entire communities. We built a campaign that said every community deserves justice. That every community deserves fair treatment under the law across racial and class lines.
Excellent. So this is an incredible breakthrough. Between her and Krasner and other candidates across the country, this is huge. I mean, this is going to be the actual material breakup of the vicious prison and punitive sentencing policies and prosecutorial policies that have dominated this country for decades. And it's also an opportunity, on the other hand, while you claw back and reverse those things, to actually really reinvent what this job actually is. Maybe this job is about going up against landlords. Maybe this job is about going up against companies and employers and other people that actually cause harm in communities. Huge amount of potential here. Huge victory. Awesome for Tiffany Cabán and for Queens, and actually for all of us. There's definitely national implications from her win.
Hell yeah. And I just want to note the woman standing next to her up there is Bianca Cunningham, the co-chair of New York City DSA, which played a major role in canvassing for Cabán, endorsing her very early. And I was really excited that we got to be a part of it in North Brooklyn. We're very close to Ridgewood, Queens, and we sent a lot of people to canvass.
Awesome.
We were a superpower. We are now a hyper-powered.
Oh my God! Did you leak notes from the recordings from the DSA board meeting?
Whoops.
Wouldn't that be awesome if North Brooklyn DSA, like when people were out, like they're like tatted and earnest, and they're like, we need to get rid of prisons. We need to go talk to the community and then like privately, they're just like, the next phase after Tiffany Cabán is to accelerate our power position.
Michael, I told you that in confidence.
We need a mix of Machiavelli and Sun Tzu if we're going to get out of this pickle.
The only way to keep the race forward with Julius Salazar is to read from the Book of Rings, the samurai manual of warfare.
I'm not saying shit.
AOC, Salazar, and Cabán are the deciding factor, I think, ultimately in all of those races are these canvassing operations. So huge implications. And it's what's amazing about that type of grassroots effort is that's the logistics and maybe some of the like style is different, but at the end of the day there's not a massive difference in a broad principle of like going somewhere in the middle of like I've canvassed in places where you're literally on dirt roads and you walk, there might even be like a quarter mile between houses, and also like in multi-story buildings. And the bottom line is you knock on somebody's door and you tell them about the stakes, their stakes in the election and what they care about, what they're interested in, and why, hopefully who you're repping is going to deliver for them. And that's amazing for all of the complexities of campaigns and all of the other things that you have to do, that is such a huge deciding factor. And you can't do that without movements and organizations and candidates that actually represent something like Tiffany Cabán.
Yep.
So that's a huge signal. And it's also a signal for people like now more and more people have been calling in and saying like they're doing things like running for their city council or whatever. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Get involved in your local whatever, whatever you're drawn to. DSA, Justice Democrats.
Even if you think that the Democrats
Party
are going to work against you in some sort of Kabbalistic fashion, at least you make them do it, right? Like
sometimes
that goes out their resources.
And by the way, look, you might the Queen's Democratic machine is a pretty. We laugh now at people like Joe Crowley, but until he lost to AOC, that's a person who ran a machine in Queens and was a top Democrat nationally in the House, who had the sort of machine Democratic stuff, which is, depreciating because of changes in capital and so on, but also had a funnel from Wall Street and real estate. This dude, okay, you could say he was upset in a one-off. This is a personal rebuke to him. So the thing, among many other more important things. But so that's the other thing is sure, they'll work against you.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely will.
There's no doubt, but it also could be a situation where you get a couple hundred people even could be enough to completely knock them off course. And amazingly enough, in a place like Queens, in New York City, which is obviously a massive city, you're literally talking about like 10,000 people, 11,000 people. It's not that many to take on and see, that there's a lot of glass jaws out there that haven't been properly challenged.
Mm-hmm. And the machine is still quite powerful. Like, I don't want to say that it's not. The 4 major unions in New York City endorsed her opponent, Katz, because, they're making a gamble. They don't want to go up against the machine. They know that if the socialist somehow wins, they're not going to punish them. But if they don't support the machine candidate and they win, they're absolutely going to punish them. But I hope between this and AOC, I hope some unions take a second look, and not necessarily for ideological reasons, although I want everyone to have a socialist ideology, but even just for pure reasons of power and self-interest, realize that it is in their self-interest to endorse candidates like Cabán.
There's no doubt about it. And they won't be punished, and the structure of the policies Cabán supports will obviously be way better for people who work, and so therefore unions. But, you're not going to be in the room in the same way.
Yeah.
And start thinking, and again, I sympathize why unions are thinking of like what small turf they can protect because they've been under assault for decades. At the same time, if you want to survive and you want to win the coming battles for survival, you actually need to think in broader terms in terms of what you actually can win and actually deliver for. And that's
Absolutely.
represented by candidates like Cabán.
And one more thing, because I know we've had some conversations here, we've had conversations in DSA about how we are prison abolitionists. We don't just want decarceration. We don't just want to reform the system, right? We want to change it and replace it with a new one and a better one. So for that reason, some people were hesitant to support a DA because they are part of the carceral state, regardless of what they're going to do once they're inside of it. But I really think, like, I have to believe that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can support this DA because this is the tool that's available to us right now to improve people's material conditions in a very real way and not turn our back on our fellow New Yorkers and ourselves, while at the same time looking to a much more radical abolitionist horizon.
Definitely. Today's sponsor is